Hello, everybody. This is Mickey Moore, your host for Run Life Today. Welcome to another episode where we bring you some authentic and inspiring conversations. Look who I have with me today, Kimberly Moore. Good day. Good day. So Kim and I have known each other for years, and as with the other episodes, we're going to walk through some conversations today, and she's going to share some tips on how she best runs life more than life running her. At any time, our audience, please go to runlifetoday.org. Watch us, like us, follow us, enjoy all of our episodes, of which this one will be sooner than later. Okay, so let me get back. I want to get right to it. I'm, of course, sporting my TCC Eagles hat and color. So good morning, Kim.
Good morning. I love that you got the paraphernalia on. Absolutely. Eagle, diehard.
That's right. And actually, I ran into Scott Baylog recently, and he gave my son Shane a puzzle, a TCC puzzle.
Oh, wow.
He did it last week, like that. And
it's sort of like passing it down to the next generation. So you got the hat, he has the puzzle. There we go. We'll have to get Audrey something too.
And I'm okay with that. I'm a fan of state colleges, community colleges, et cetera, being a, what do I say? A result of one Daytona Beach Community College years ago. All right.
Our product of one, yes.
Yes, product. Yeah, I don't know why that word kind of escaped me there. So, Kim, let's have fun. Let's, have a good exchange. And, I'm lucky, I'm fortunate. I've known you for a long time. But our audience, some of them, believe it or not, may not know your story. So we're going to share that today. But as I always do, I want to start with a little bit of background and what you're comfortable sharing. I want to know, for the audience's sake, where you're born. Tell me a little bit about your family, your upbringing. Take us through to maybe, your schooling and higher education and all that kind of stuff. But let's not do it for like 35 minutes here. Let's keep it brief, because I got more important things to talk about when it comes to your advice. But anyway, fire away. Where are you from? Give me some background, Kim.
So I am from Greenville, Florida. Greenville, Florida, hour east of Tallahassee. I always say me and Ray Charles, that's the place where it all happened. So that's where I'm from. Family, have two sisters, one younger, one older. I'm a middle child. My parents, both hardworking. My dad was in the lumber industry, and my mom was in retail. And they, instilled in us, very early that, hey, you got to get an education to be the very best you. So that was instilled. So from the age of 14, because when I think about it, it's always been, how do you make yourself better? My life always revolved around reading. So at the age of 14, I identified my dream goal was going to be to become a CEO. At 14, I began writing on that. I began applying for college as if I could get in then. Now you can, you see 12-year-olds, but did that. And honestly, I didn't tell anyone that I wanted to be CEO until my senior year of high school. Laura Young, love, hug on a teacher. Laura Young, the English teacher. I didn't put it down. She said great grades and all of that. And then she says, Kim, is this really what you want to do? Because I thought I'd come back and just do state government. I thought that would be the safe place. She said, your grades are high. What do you really want to be? And I said, CEO, as quiet as possible, just so the two of us could hear it. And she said, well, go back and put that down. That's my permission to dream statement, I tell you. And she gave it to me, and I hung on to that for dear life and used that to move on to Tallahassee at 17, right out of high school. So TCC, my first degree. And then my undergraduate degree, there you go, Florida State University, and then later on to Webster for my MBA, and doing that school thing again back at Florida State right now.
Okay. Again.
Yeah, again. Can't get enough.
That's right. So, all right. Okay, a lot there. Let me unpack a little bit. So Greenville, sure. Is that Madison County?
It is Madison County.
Madison County. Okay. Been through there a few times. I remember one of my...
Hopefully you didn't get a ticket.
No. Well,
everybody knows it for the ticket. So.
I don't speed. Never have. Only on the track. Oh.
I love it.
Anyway, so there's a cake shop somewhere right on the main road there, yes. Down past school. I remember somebody took me there for business once, and they say, you got to come, Miss Julie or something. It's named after a lady. Do you know what I'm talking about?
There is a cake shop. I don't know the last name of the individual, but yes, the cake shop. Yes, cake
Yeah.
shop, and normally people know it again by Ray Charles. So yeah.
Yeah, Ray Charles, cake shop, a few other things. Okay, so tell me a little bit more though about junior high, high school Kim. I mean, it was obviously you had good grades. What are those things that you were involved in, or how would your friends have described you at that time?
So it's interesting. You don't realize how competitive you are until you're just put in this environment. So on points that stay with me, I remember being in band. I was a trumpet player, and from middle school to high school. And I did not realize I just wanted to be a part of the band. So to me, it was about doing that. So that was the accomplishment until we started getting seat arrangements, first chair, second chair, third chair, and the lower your number, the better you are considered as a player.
Right.
And I knew my chair was like last every year, all of middle school. And I thought, what in the heck? And like I said, I still had my friends there, so nobody really talked about it, but transition to high school and your last chair again. And I was like, no, this thing means more than it should. I mean, I got to do something. So I literally committed myself. I borrowed a trumpet from Mr. Gasvini. He was the band director. And I practiced that entire summer. Concert band, like marching band. I did that in the house, outside the house, marching stand, everything, music stand. And when I came back my sophomore year of high school, I was first chair and soloist. No, yeah. So those are, so they would say is that she is very determined, and if she says it, she's going to do it. She's going to find a way.
Nice. Congratulations. Yeah, I mean, just another example of hard work, right? So I was in the band in junior high school. I think I told you. I never made it to a chair. They kept me on the couch. That's how bad I was. I played the French horn for like, it was too heavy to carry, one. And two, I was not very good. I never got off the couch. Anyway, so sorry to make light of that, but no, congratulations. And that's awesome. So CEO, the degrees, have your degrees all been with a focus in business?
So interestingly enough, I think like all college students, at some point you're like, okay, you go directly from high school to college, you're kind of tired of school. And that's where I was. And I was like, okay, what do I want to do? What can get me out right now and get a job? So my undergrad degree is actually in criminology. Yeah. And then I thought, like, hey, aren't you veering from the path? But then I thought, hey, what if I, with FDLE, end up leading a division? I just had played this whole game plan out. That bubble did not burst until my 2 weeks before graduation at FSU. We had a career fair. And I go to the table of Tallahassee Police Department, and I'm telling them about my degree, about to graduate. And I said, I'm interested in starting off. I believe I'll need to start off as a detective. As many people know, they think, I believe that I got the plan. So I'm telling them, I'm like, hey, I think I can start off as a detective. And they're like, no, you got to spend 2 years on the beat. And I said, is that the streets? And they said, yes. I never applied to anything in that area.
I'm sorry. Yeah. You may remember the movie Beach Street. Sorry, that's just where I went. Okay. Anyway.
So yeah. But then of course, the MBA, it is in business. And that was after I'd, joined Workforce Plus. And then I was like, okay, I really want a degree that says not only to me, but to the future Kim, that it's going to be a door opener, and that you really need to understand, because I was in a nonprofit at that time, that I want those who I'm working with to understand that I understand business as well. Mm-hmm. And it's one thing to say it, but I really love having the credential to add to it.
Yeah, interesting there. Maybe we'll get into that later. Nonprofit or business, or isn't a nonprofit a business? But I get what you're saying. There's a stereotype a little bit where nonprofit, oh, do you really know business?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So we'll dig on that a little bit later. Okay, last question about your background. Mom and dad, one or two things stick out to you about what they taught you when you look back from your mom and dad?
Well, they taught family. They taught family that you stick together and you all love on each other. Yes, there'll be other people that you'll meet along the way, but your core is always family. And to this day, whether it's, me and my sisters, and now, everybody has children, but it's the same kind of relationship that you see with the grandkids of my parents now, that they are holding on to each other and realizing that family is so important. I think the other thing is that, you know what, never let anyone minimize who you are or tell you what you can or can't be. That has stuck with me. And I'd even add a third. My father, I remember early morning, always start knocking on that door, and he'd say, rise and shine. He always started that day early. He was going to work, and he put in so many hours to make a difference, but take care of a family. So for me, it's always meant that hard work equals the outcome that you want it to be. So yeah, 3 things.
Okay, thank you. Those are good. All right, so now let's move to a different subject matter. The easy one to transition to now would be your career, right, in business. Talking about business and, you know, the commitments over the years that you've had all the way up to today, what you do. So you graduated approximately what years?
I'm 95 from Florida State. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So give us the highlights of your career progression all the way through to TCC and what you're doing today.
Sure, absolutely. So right out of college, I always tell people, and this will be important as I tell the story, but right out of college, I went to what was then the Department of Labor, Jobs and Benefits to apply for jobs. And I did that religiously. And they'd give me job listings, as they were paper at the time, as long as I was tall. And they'd always tell me, you're only supposed to get 3, but you come every week. So I would be applying. So it took me 3 months. I got that first job in state government. First job was actually child support enforcement. So maybe I did use some of those detective skills. Maybe I did, because I love the ability to locate folks. So I did that for 1 year and 11 months.
Skip tracing. Skip tracing.
Oh yeah, tell me if there was anybody to be found. People stopped telling me who people's name was, because I was just like looking for folks under rocks. I was taking everybody to court. So that was that. And then I saw this ad, and it talked about workforce development, and it was in Tallahassee. And I thought, am I going to leave the comfort, go back to the state government job, or am I going to take this plunge for something that was new at the time, workforce development? I decided to take that plunge. I always tell the folks that I started off as an OPS worker. I was not hired full time. I was not selected as a permanent worker. Started off as a case manager in workforce. And in orientation, Dr. Wyatt Pope would actually confirm this, but he was the CEO. I asked him what it took to have his job. What would it do? What would I need to do? And he said, you're in orientation. And I wasn't even a full-time employee. So he said, it takes, hard work, you got to pay your dues. And I've been doing it for 30 years. And I remember quickly responding back, I don't have that long. So I just didn't. That set the stage and the tone for what would be my time at Workforce Plus, which is the regional workforce board. 7 years later, I'd moved through the organization, center manager, contract and compliance, chief operations officer, and then ultimately CEO. And that's a neat deal. That's
I'm sorry, you said something about wanting to be a CEO at 14.
Exactly.
So, okay.
Exactly.
So
I really do feel like I lived out that 1.0 of what dreams can be, because, most would know within workforce, it is a male dominated field. It is a white male dominated field. And just to be the first woman and first minority here in our community, and the youngest in the state at the time, was just a big deal. I saw, for me, it was living out and carrying out what my parents had told me about. They had not done that, but that being able to have them see what their hard work meant and their investment in me, and that being able to reach things that, hey, you haven't been there yet, but there's no reason why you can't. And then that would then take me to Tallahassee Community College. Never thought I'd be in education. Mm-hmm. You need to have an education. I love my education partners. Never thought it would be me. Why? Primarily, I actually thought that education moved slower than, in my mind, the business side of the house. And I did not want to set myself up for failure, in the sense that I know that I like moving fast. Everybody knows I like moving fast. So what I have learned and why I even took the plunge is that, you know what, you need to think about reinventing yourself. You need to be able to honestly feel free and feel comfortable with being scared, being afraid, taking that plunge. And that's what this was for me, that I'm going into an area that I've not done before. I believed in my leadership skills, but now you had to put it in a place that wasn't, common to you. And now I've been in that role, or this role, moving from vice president for workforce development to vice president for workforce innovation, because I had yet another kind of reimagining point in my career where it was about creating and starting things, which is why the title change.
Okay. All right. So there's a lot there too. And again, congratulations on the progress you've made. And I know you, but hearing the story and the work and being a CEO and meeting those goals, you've earned it. I mean, and that's the thing that impresses me is, you put your head down, you move forward, you move fast, whatever it is, but you earn the place that you got to, by hard work. And regardless of what obstacles may have been there, again, from the field being dominated by men, to me, that doesn't matter. It's all about performance. It's all about merit. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That's how I look at it when I'm talking to folks, and regardless of white, black, green, purple, male, female, whatever, you work, and I know that you work really hard. So let me dig a little bit on TCC though, okay? Just for, again, our audience. So your typical day leading workforce and innovation would be something about like what?
So both with the messaging, so I involve myself a lot with the messaging and brand for workforce development. So whether that's radio, print, TV, ensuring that we're touching all the places that we need to touch and it's resonating there. So that's one piece of it. So today, a typical day, I have started off with radio, making sure that I'm getting the word out. I then move that into meetings that can range from a variety of things in this community, whether it's meeting with employers to determine what their needs are, because that's so vitally important. You can't just be an educational institution that's just kind of turning out and cranking out what you want. It needs to align with what employers are asking for and what they need. Otherwise, we'll miss the opportunity for our students to connect with them afterwards. So that's a big part of it. We have a number of programs. As a matter of fact, TCC is always about being cutting edge. There's 17 different grants beyond the traditional education that happens in my division, but 17 different grants that are operating right now in my division, and 3 more that we're planning on going after. So there's a lot of planning on future, a lot of focus on and meeting with people that are attached to those current grants, because here's the thing, we don't ever want to start anything that we can't finish. So that my day would likely conclude with, I love celebrating the success of our students and connecting community to it. So this week, actually 2 days ago, we had a graduation ceremony for a new program. It's a pre-apprenticeship program. Most people listening say, yeah, I remember apprenticeships back in the day. Well, they're coming back. And so these were 16 to 24-year-olds that got a chance to get that spark about what they want to do. So I love not only doing the work in the policy side, but connecting it to the real people. So that's the day. And I tell people my normal day, 13 or so hours, that's common. That's common. And that's not, a lot, some people say, well, it's self-imposed, but there's a lot of moving pieces. And if you enjoy it, then I say it's not anything that I would call a negative. If you don't enjoy it, it's torture.
A 13-hour day would be torture if it weren't fun, right? Okay, so next 3, 5, 10. I mean, you're there. I mean, I'm not putting you on the spot, but I am. So, yeah, same thing. You want to keep staying in the education world?
So interestingly enough, for me, what I think TCC is open up, because yet again, when I looked at why, and I always tell people, when you make a decision, it really ought to be not just for one outcome. I'm looking at 2 or 3, 4 possible positive outcomes that I can get out of that, not just the one. So not only was it the experience here, but I was also reflecting on that no one else has transitioned from leading a workforce system private-public partnership arrangement to education. I'm the first in Florida that's made that switch. So for me, I wanted to make sure that I could capitalize on that, perhaps in consulting and perhaps in honestly just being able to be effective in my job now because you understand both sides of it. Moving forward, what I believe will be the place will be, certainly combining everything that I've learned, but I love statewide. I love national perspective because what I've learned from everything that I've done is that it's great to be at the grassroots level, but you've got to be in a spot that you can implement the change that needs to happen. And that's what I'd be interested in.
Interesting. I'll be sure to send a recording of this to, what's that guy's name? Jim? Anyway. Just kidding. All right. Okay, let's transition. Let's transition to another lane. So you and I, again, met each other a few years ago, and
2007. Come on now.
I know. I don't want to date this. I don't want to date us. But so somehow you've been able to spend some time in the exercise world, fitness world, and I mean, you haven't aged a bit, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So talk to us a little bit about your commitment there over the years currently, that, your hobbies, your fitness, your activities that keep you looking so youthful. Share with us.
Yes. No, thank you for the compliment. First of all, I appreciate that. And audience, I did not pay him for that. So yes, I appreciate that. But you have to take care of this engine that I call our bodies. And if you're not going to do that, you will not be able to do anything that we've talked about so far. So I believe in fitness. I love fitness. Prior to COVID, I was in the gym and I'd spend 2 hours, I loved it. It was not hard work because I knew it was an investment in my own temple. Since COVID, as we were making our way through it, I believed in it. And now I bought the same stuff for my house. Everything that I did at the gym, now I do it in the house, and added a few more pieces and I try to do that at a minimum 3 to 4 times a week. Because mentally it helps me, physically it helps me. And it's just something that, you're in control. You're the CEO of you and this body of yours. And I actually if you're competitive, I like going to my doctor once a year and hearing that annual report and everything's, still clicking along. So I work for that. But yes, when I think about hobbies, I've actually, and I think this came by way of COVID, because I wasn't necessarily a yard person, but because I got 2 months where we worked remote, that I got to honestly, and I share this with some other folks, I found out that I had 3 rose bushes in my backyard. You say, how do you find that out? I bought the house and I already had the flowers there, but I actually stopped and I thought, my gosh, I got 3 rose bushes back here and some other flowers. And it's like I became one with my yard. And that was just reflection. It was refreshing. And all of that, just to be able to see what, God gives us. And so I now have that as a hobby, making sure my little flowers are straight. So that's one. And then still reading. Reading is something that I enjoy doing because I believe that it's not just about our small circle, Lord. I mean, there's just so many. The world is huge and we need to appreciate other perspectives. And you don't get that by talking to, just the same people that you talk to all the time, or reading the same thing that, coincides with your point of view. So those are my hobbies. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So anytime you would like to come work on my little patch out front where I've got the hydrangeas and all that, if you get bored with your roses, because I'm over it. No.
Well, Mickey, I'll tell you, there's too much of a good thing, because I had a guy out yesterday and I put all the super grow on my backyard in the grass. And he said, ma'am, you need to cut your yard again. I said, no, I just had the guy out a week ago, but I added the super grow. He said, it's working. So you probably don't want me to come.
Yeah, no. But I hear you though. I do like being outside and working in the yard. I can only do a certain time before, the back or the hamstrings start to get a little sore. But then let me dig a little bit on the gym. So strength training, cardio, a little bit of everything, CrossFit. What is it that you do?
cardio, and then focus on the core. And, and I would say, I mean, maybe it's a little bit vain, but it will be on the things that impact my dress. So those, if it impacts that, and I don't want to change my wardrobe, yeah, that's where I'm at. So
there we go. Now we uncover the real motivation behind it.
You're getting all the secrets.
How do I look in my outfit? Okay.
Oh, whatever your motivation is, but yeah.
Look, I am not that vain. Okay, maybe I am. Yeah. Look, I get it. There's a good feeling on the inside, right? When you go to the doctor and you be able to say your numbers are where they should be. Not to say, unfortunately, some medical conditions come out of nowhere, right?
Right,
And we all know family members and friends that have been super active and athletic and everything. And then all of a sudden they get a diagnosis of something that came out of left field and you're like, oh, so I understand that. But the time and energy you put into it, it's got to be a constant, right? It is.
It does. It's a lifestyle. It is certainly not something that you're just picking up and say, hey, I'm going to try that, because that won't last. So I look at, what's the lasting things that I can carry throughout.
So thus far, we got a couple lanes. And again, you got some hobbies, you got some fitness, you've got work stuff. So 12-hour work days, working in 3 to 4 days of some exercise, and you got other things. So now I'm going to transition to a new lane of community involvement, because that's how you and I met through Leadership Tallahassee back in 2007, class 24.
The best class ever. Yes.
24/7.
All day.
That's right. So, share with our audience again those causes, those organizations where you dedicate your time, right? Either as an individual, as a family, as a member of TCC, because I know it touches all of those, right? So share with us some of those commitments.
Okay, so I'll talk about some past commitments, and then I'll roll that into to current. So I really try to follow passion, interest, because I believe serving on a board is not for a resume, it is to give back. And so anything that I'm looking at, I look to make sure that, hey, can I connect with that issue in a way that really will be meaningful and meaningful to me as well. So I'm not going to exclude myself, but I do want to make sure that I'm at least, reaching out. So I actually interview boards who express interest in me, because I want to make sure that, as much as they're going to get back what they need, I want to make sure that I can fully commit, and that includes asking questions. So I have served and termed out like 6 years of service, United Way, Early Learning Coalition of the Big Bend. I have served on Big Bend Hospice's board. I have served on I could probably just run the gamut. Let me tell you about what I'm currently serving on. Currently serving on the Wakulla Chamber of Commerce. I'm their education chair, but I was also the previous president. So that's been a 9-10-year commitment. That was back in 2009 that I did that, and have continued to serve. So it's long-term relationships. Of course, the Office of Economic Vitality. I'm the vice chair there of our Leadership Council. For Greater Tallahassee Chamber of Commerce, for Tempo, the Tempo Foundation that was recently formed with the city of Tallahassee with at-risk youth and young adults there. I am also with INI, the Institute for Nonprofit and Innovation.
I've heard of it.
There as a founding member and founding chair, as well as, who am I excluding? Florida A&M University, the Rattlers. Currently serve as the vice chair there, and of course the Leon County Research Development Authority, which is Innovation Park. I am currently the chairwoman there. So lots of busyness.
Whew. Now, okay, so again, because I've served on boards, right, and we serve on a board together, but some of them require activity participation during the workday. Obviously, you have a supportive employer to where they allow you to engage in the community for your own personal interest, because they see that as an extension of them. But then there's also like any, right, which I know you care about, but is also very pertinent to TCC, right? So
correct.
So just so everybody knows, you just ran off, I think, 10 boards that you're serving on. Yeah, I mean, obviously you're not doing that after hours or on Saturday and Sunday, but it all works together, because at some point you don't have to serve. So I want to go back to the first thing you said, though, is I interview boards when they want me to be on their board. I just think that is so understated, and I wish more individuals would do that, right? So tell me what you've seen in the nonprofit community then. What kind of board, what are the characteristics that when you're doing that interview, you go, okay, yes, I'm going to serve on that board? Or what are some of those things where you've said, oh, no, I'm just not going to serve on that board?
Yeah. So I'm gonna, and I want to throw in because I want to make sure for the Lemoyne listeners. Yes, I also served on the Lemoyne board as well. So I want to make sure I didn't forget anybody.
Okay,
so
yeah.
Things that I think about, depending upon where they are in their evolution. If it's I don't shy away from new boards, new organizations. I don't shy away from them. I know that they're going through a period and it's going to take more time. I figure out whether they have a game plan. How much legwork they've done already. And if they haven't, I'm okay with giving counsel. I just won't serve because they haven't yet thought it through enough. I give guidance on these are the things that I suggest that you do. And then please do, come back and revisit me on that. I don't want to, put myself in a bad position that's going to take more time than I can give it. The ones that have been here for a while, I ask, what's your current priorities? What's your plan, your strategic plan? When was the last time you all kind of looked at that? Are there some key goals? I ask about membership engagement, board engagement. How does that work? Do you have a plan for it? I ask about communication. What does that look like? All the things that would matter to me most. I try and make sure that honeymoons are good when you first get on the board, but you got to live with them. You're married to them. I want to make sure that we're not divorcing, prematurely. So
Sure.
Part of doing that is, asking those things.
Yeah, no, great. Thank you for elaborating on that, because it is important, right? And so many nonprofits do hey, we need board members, almost to where they're desperate sounding, and they'll just take anybody that says
Correct.
yes, which you got at some point flip the script to where board members, volunteers see that it's special to be on your board versus the other way around, right?
Right. And you're right. It's having that conversation, and that's why I love what happens in our community, where we're trying to educate to that point about board members and how you recruit and why it's important.
Good. Yeah. Through people like UPHS, any
You
building
got
better
it.
boards. Yeah, the education there is important, and consultants that maybe help in that regard.
Absolutely. I mean, where in the world? There's only one Mickey Moore. I'm telling you all. There's a lot of him to go around. So make sure you're calling him.
There are no more or less. Anyway, we go back and forth all day with our last name. So
I love it.
All right. Obviously, those are the causes that you're spending time. And then just real quick, one or two of those causes that are close to your heart. What area would it be? Not the actual organization, but what causes really touch your heart when it comes to resources, time, energy, treasure, all that good stuff?
Education, when you think about access and equity, and then the community development side of it. So the economic and workforce, because they tie together. I mean, literally, if you want everyone in your community to have a chance, then you got to make sure that education is certainly a part of it, and that it's available and it's accessible. And the other side of it, you want, when they complete that, I like telling the whole story, that there's going to be jobs available. There's going to be opportunity. So you can't do one without the other. So I am committed, and who would have thought, over 10, 15 years ago that would be my cause, but it really is my cause of why I do what I do and why it doesn't tire me after so many years.
Yeah, there's excitement in the air with a new project, and I'm tempted to say
Project Mango
is what again? You were going to tell me, what was it?
You know what? I just got out the radio saying, I said, man, that mystery continues. We just.
Yeah, Christina Paredes, right?
Yes, love her. Yeah.
I saw her recently at a gathering, and I just walked. I said, "Hey, how are you? Would you like to talk about Project Mango?" She smiled. She goes, "Whoo!" Every corner she's turning right now. Everybody's like,
everybody wants to know about this mango that used to be a fruit, and now it's the 1,000+ jobs. It's gotten more important. Yeah.
Now it's a mattress company. Anyway, I don't know, but so okay. let me get to one more lane.
Sure.
Um, and it could be a combination here, and I'll let you just kind of run with it. But when you talk about your family today,
Yes.
right? The commitment and the time that you spend there, and faith, right? If that's another part of that. So I like to put those together because often you do faith with family, you know. So
Right.
what do you tell us a little bit about you and your immediate family and your commitment to faith and the time and energy you spend there too?
Absolutely. So grew up in the church. We were there every Sunday. It appeared it just, and they probably created more extra Sundays when I think about it. So grew up in that. And honestly, what I learned about my own faith journey is that you have to have your connection to it yourself. So I remember coming to college again at 17, and I thought, you know what? They're not here, so I'm not going to go to church every Sunday. I'm going to just do what I want to do. I'm going to sleep late like people or whatever they're doing. And I learned quickly that in life, if you don't have, for my personal life, if you don't have that as your anchor, I mean, that you will sail, but you'll be sailing in a whole lot of different directions. And
Mm.
for me, I know it's my personal anchor. I love studying. There are groups here. Locally that it's a group of women that focus on
Hmm.
studying the word and faith.
Okay.
So I absolutely love that. And then also with continuing to go to church. Now, like I said, it's not a chore, it's how I choose to live my life. So I love that. I love studying the word. I love, I wake up every day. I start off with my devotion. Those are the first three things that I do. I read my scripture, I read my devotion, and then yeah, that's how I get it going. That's my day.
Okay. From a faith perspective, and then family.
And with family, so with regard to the family side of it, we do it together. I know we share our Bible study readings. I share mine. As a matter of fact, I send my sisters Monday through Friday, along with some other folks, a devotional. It's 3 different devotionals that I pull, and they've been getting it for years. That I make sure that I do it to make, to start their day.
Okay. Thank you. I know it's important to you, but now more people know it's important. So any other, before I get to the big question, right, where you're going to give us some advice,
Yes.
any other side hustles, any other hobbies, any other things that you commit a lot of time and energy to, day in, week in, month in, year in? Are we
Well, I
covered?
think, I tell people I am one that doesn't sleep a whole lot. So when you come to maximizing time, I literally have maximized every bit of every day. And when anybody says, well, hey, do you sleep well? I sleep well every day. I am like a rock until 6 o'clock. So yeah, I think that catches everything that I'm working on and that I'm doing. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we spend time with friends, and
Yeah.
whatever. That's fine. We do traveling once in a while on vacation.
Now, I mean, that's something that, prior to COVID, I mean, I kept a suitcase in my closet with 2 or 3 open because it was just that, kind of
Yeah.
busy. Now we're making our way back to it. So I do enjoy traveling. I love traveling to new places, as a matter of fact, and London is my favorite, absolute favorite.
Okay. Well, and if you need help with the luggage next time, call me. I'll be happy to be the bellboy the whole trip. You know what I mean? All right. So, Kim, as I mentioned earlier, and everybody has done these episodes, Run Life Today, we're here to help some folks. It's not just to tell your story, which is awesome, right? But we want our audience to be able to take away a couple tips, suggestions from you when it comes to running more of life than life running you. And basically, that work-life integration. How are you making all this work? So, practically speaking, philosophically speaking, what tips and best practices do you use that you can share with our audience?
So annually, at the close of a year, I establish a plan for myself. What's going to be my priorities?
Okay.
What's going to be my priorities? Yes, I know that curveballs come in, but at a minimum, I'm going to figure out and know this is what I want to be focused on. So prioritizing is key for me. The other part is having a plan and make sure that you're working the plan. Work the plan. There's enough, we all journal, we all write down things, but then carrying out those things. So I believe in the results side of that. The other is you even have to not only seek balance, but be deliberate and intentional about achieving the balance. What are those things that you're going to commit yourself to? and that's not work related or whatever goal related, i.e. I'll give you an example. Bible study fellowship, that's a group here that every Tuesday at 6:30 that group starts. I make sure that I don't have any other meetings that's going to conflict with that, because that's important to me. And then I think the other part of it is, to be honest with yourself. Be honest. There is something about being self-aware that, a lot of people say it comes with age or time, but you've got to do that self-check. And then the last thing I would say about, being able to work in so many, be bold. Just because you've done it one way for 30 plus years or whatever that number is for you, look at doing something different. Challenge yourself, even if it's that one thing, that you want to do in that next year. Challenge yourself. You will feel wonderful for trying and even better for achieving. So those would be my points.
So you mean I should change the way I'm doing my hair? It's been the same.
Well, I think so. Possibly a mohawk or something that might.
Okay, so a lot there. So obviously planning, right, on an annual basis, writing some things down, which again, a lot of people do, but sometimes they don't prioritize that plan. And certainly, both in work and personal life, executing the plan and being consistent with it, right?
Yes.
And I liked what you said about intentional and purpose. Be purposeful, and when you're doing that calendar, you've got to act on it, because reactively, your calendar is not going to let you be where you want to be. If you're proactive, it will be.
Right.
And of course, I like the being bold. You got to be brave. You got to be vulnerable. You got to take risks. There's no reward if you don't take risks. I love that. And then there was one in there in between. Give yourself some grace, basically. I mean, right? If you don't always succeed, or if you don't always get something accomplished, it's more around the effort. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. There's so many people that don't start because they're afraid of what the outcome will be. They're not celebrating the middle. There is a middle.
Yeah,
acknowledge that there's one, and be prepared to do that.
Yeah, I mean, everybody knows that saying, you miss every shot you don't take. I mean, it's the point of putting yourself out there and taking a risk. So I for sure think that the audience will be able to take a few of those that you've shared and put them into their own life, and to whatever successful relative degree. And that's the thing. This is an art. Take one or two of these things, and success might be getting up at 6 a.m. for the first time ever 3 days in a row. Or
absolutely.
Right. Or for someone like you, it may be working out 5 days a week and 15-hour work days every day for a year.
Exactly. And just because you see someone else's picture doesn't mean that that's what your picture needs to look like. And that's the important piece too, because oftentimes folks will identify and role models and others, or folks that they want to mentor them because they think that they have to be an exact replica. No, be your unique self.
Yeah, don't worry about keeping up with the Joneses from that perspective. Keep up with yourself. Right?
Exactly. And you'll find that competing with yourself will be the best competition that you'll ever have. So
I agree. So audience, I hope you enjoyed the conversation today. And again, look at runlivetoday.org for this episode in the coming weeks, and all the other episodes. Watch us, like us, follow us. Kim, I enjoy all the time I get to spend with you, and thank you, because again, you fit us into your schedule, and you are intentional and purposeful in getting us scheduled. Thank you for the time, Kim.
You are very welcome. I would not miss ever collaborating with the other more. So thank you.
All right. So go TCC, and we'll see you again soon.
See you later now. Bye-bye.